everyone, I hope you are doing good. So in this first packet, we're gonna talk about trigonometry. But before we talk about trigonometry, we need to first understand some elements. That's for the first packet. It was just some basic elements that students need to master before to work with trigonometry. So let's start with the first element. We need to talk about it, which is a right triangle, Thales, and Pythagorean theorem. All right, so this is the first thing we need to talk about it, and I hope you will understand. First thing is a right triangle and Pythagorean theorem. So what is a right triangle and what that means? So a right triangle is a triangle who has a right angle. One of his angle is 90 degrees. For example, in this case, you have this one. You know about this. So it's just something that we need to remember about it. There's a lot of different kind of triangles that we can classify them as a different type of triangle. We can classify them by like sides or by angles. By sides, you can find, like, for example, I would call it equilateral triangle. It has 3 equal sides, and in this situation, those 3 angles is 60 degrees because the sum of it is 180 degrees. So this is a 90 degrees, by the way. And we know about isosceles triangle, 2 sides. This is we're talking about classification by side, by the way. So those 2 sides are the same. And we know about scalene triangle. Scalene triangle has no equal sides at all. So scalene triangle is something like this, for example. It has no equal sides at all. So all of them are completely different. But if we talk about by angles, there's some classifications that you can do for triangles. You have acute triangle. Acute triangle has 3 angles less than 90 degrees. For example, in this case, is acute angle. 3 angles is less than 90 degrees. 60, 60, 60 is less than 90 degrees. And we have a right triangle, which is the one that we're going to talk about. It has one angle equals 90 degrees, which is this one. And the last one is obtuse triangle, has one angle greater than 90 degrees. For example, this triangle right here is here we go, as you can see, is angle greater than 90 degrees. Is obtuse triangle. All right. In elementary geometry, you learn that the sum of the angle in a triangle is always equals to 180 degrees. Is any triangle you want. It's not only in a right triangle. So, for example, in this one, we just say it, which is an equilateral triangle. So each angle is 60, 60, 60, and the sum of it is 180 degrees. So in this case, for example, if it's this 90 degrees, which is a right triangle, this, for example, let's say this is a 60 degrees, for example. So this angle right here, let's call this angle alpha. So alpha has to be what? So if the sum of those angles are 180 degrees, so it's going to be alpha plus 90 degrees plus 60 degrees is equals 180 degrees. So alpha equals to what? Is 180 degrees minus 180 degrees minus those 2. So 90 degrees and minus 60 degrees. So this alpha equals to what? Is 30 degrees. So we know that this is 30 degrees. And if you want, we can even check with a protractor to check if it's right. So let's check right here. So this is 90 degrees, right? The protractor, this is 90 degrees, as you can see, 90 degrees. So you see it is right, 90. So this one is right here. We said is 60 degrees. So 60 degrees, as you can see it. This is 50, 60 degrees. And this one has to be 30 degrees. Let's check. It has to be 30 degrees. So let's check if it's 30 degrees. Yes. Look, the angle is 30 degrees. So 20, this is 30 degrees. I don't know if you can see it from the video, but this is 30 degrees. Just to show you that it's real. So even is the same thing for any triangle, even is any shape of triangle, even if this all kinds of triangle that we already saw. So by side or by angle, so the sum of the angles inside is always 180 degrees. In a right triangle, we call those 2 angles complementary angles. Why we call remember what we said about complementary angles are 2 angles. The sum of those 2 angles equals 90 degrees. So 60 plus 30 is 90 degrees. So you know that 90 plus 90 is 180. So in any right triangle, the 2 angles missing, like if you ask about it, the sum of them is 90 equals to 90 degrees because they are complementary angles. And if you forget, you know that complementary angles is two angles equals to 90 degrees, and supplementary angles, by the way, is the angles, the sum of them. It make you, for example, in this case, is supplementary angle. This angle plus this angle is 180 degrees. In a right triangle, the side opposite to the right angle, which is this one, as you can see it, is opposite, is called hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. So this one is the longest side of the right triangle. This longest side of the right triangle called hypotenuse. Well, we're gonna learn, by the way, about Pythagorean theorem. So we need to make the difference between hypotenuse and the other two sides. So let's talk now about Pythagorean theorem. So what does Pythagorean theorem said? So Pythagorean said that the Pythagorean theorem said that the square of the length of the hypotenuse, so the hypotenuse like this, let's call, for example, this, the length of this side, let's call it, for example, x, right? And let's call this one y, and this is z. So the square of the length of the hypotenuse is the length is equal to the sum of the square of the length of its legs. So what that means, it means x squared equals always z squared plus y squared. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about. So in this case, the length is x, for example, x centimeters. So let's say this is 5, for example, and this is, for example, 4, and this is 3. So 5 square, right? I'm gonna say 5 square equals 4 square plus 3 square, right? 5 square is 25 equals to 4 square, which is 16, plus 3 square, which is 9. Yes. So let's just understand more with another example. I have another example, for example, right here. And we can find out some lengths using Pythagorean theorem. So in this case, if we have a right triangle ABC, and we have the length of BC equals 2, call it y, AB equals 4, and the hypotenuse, by the way, we don't know exactly the length of it. So let's find out. We're using Pythagorean theorem because it's a right triangle. We can say that x squared equals to what? Equals to b squared, so y squared plus z squared. Right? So x squared equals to what? Equals 2, which is why 2 squared, plus 4 squared. So x squared equals 4 plus 16. So x squared equals 4 plus 16 is 20. So what is x equals to? X equals to square root, positive negative square root of 20. Right? So as we talk about length, so we just keep the positive values. So x equals to what? Square root of 20. Let's simplify. So x equals square root of 4 times 5. X equals 2 square root of 5. So the length of x is 2 square root of 5.